Hello everyone, welcome. So now I am going to discuss about the elements of the communication process in details. So I had already said that there are 7 elements in the communication process, and along with that there is another component that can also be considered as an element of the communication process, which is noise, and I am going to discuss about all these elements in details. Now the first one is the sender. Now sender is the person who sends the message or who shares the idea or the opinion. All right, sender is the person that who delivers a message to the recipient. Then the next element is the message. Now the message refers to the information that the sender is trying to send. Now this message can be any idea, any opinion, any feeling, any suggestion, any guideline, any order. So the idea or the particular information or the suggestion or the guideline is known as the message. Next is encoding. Encoding can be defined as the process of converting the thoughts into words, symbols, actions, etc. So, when you think of an idea, when you think of sharing an information, until and unless you don't convert your thought or your idea into certain words or symbols, the other person won't be able to understand what are you thinking. So it is very important to convert your thoughts and ideas into words or actions so that the other person can understand. Now I am explaining you the process of communication. If I would have not used any words to explain you, then you would have not been able to understand what I am thinking. So the process of converting the thoughts and ideas into words and symbols is known as the process of encoding. Okay, next is the media, which is also known as the channel or medium. Now, medium is the passage or the channel or the route through which the message is passed by the sender to the receiver. So, I would like to share some example. Radio can be a medium, letter can be a medium, and email can be a medium. When we use our mobile phone to call somebody or to send the message, now that mobile phone acts as the channel or the medium of communication through which we are sending the message. Next is the receiver. Now he is the person to whom the message has been sent. He is the person who receives the message. Now if there is no receiver, then there won't be any communication. So a receiver is also a very important part of the communication. So receiver is the person who receives the message, who goes through the message, who reads the message. The next element is decoding. Now, decoding is the process of understanding the meaning of the message. After the receiver receives the message, the receiver will understand the message, and then the receiver will provide a feedback. Decoding is the interpretation of the message which is performed by the receiver. The seventh element is the feedback. So, feedback is the response that is given by the receiver. Without a feedback or a response, the communication process is incomplete. So, when the receiver gives feedback or response to the sender, a cycle of the communication process is said to be completed. Next is noise. Now, noise is also a part of the communication process. When we communicate with one another, most of the time we face a lot of barriers when we try to communicate with each other. These barriers are known as noise. Now, this barrier or this hindrance can take place at any time in the entire communication process. There is no specific time for this particular hindrance or this particular barrier to take place. It can take place at any time. So, few examples have been given, like the disturbance in the telephone lines. So, when there is a disturbance in the telephone lines, you cannot communicate properly, you cannot talk properly, you cannot hear what the other person is trying to say. The second example that has been given is an inattentive receiver. So, if there is a receiver who is not interested to listen to you, that can be also a barrier in the process of communication, because you won't be able to share what you want to, because the receiver is not at all interested in listening to you. The next example that is given is improper decoding of messages. Now, decoding, that means understanding the meaning of the message, is totally dependent on the receiver. So sometimes the receiver might not understand the exact meaning or the correct meaning of the message. So if the receiver does not understand the proper meaning or the sense of the message, then there might be misunderstanding because of that. So this is how the communication process takes place.